Hi guys, Paul Buchanan Jones here again with the third and final part of our stitching extravaganza. So this part then is going to be looking at how to do a manual stitch from start to finish without using any kind of presets. So first things we're going to need then is our footage. We select everything, Alt click and left drag. Come on, drop that into place. We'll just set ourselves a little note so we know what these are. So we go to Edit and Notes, Create, and this will be Manual. We'll put a little box around that one as well, and we'll make this one purpley. Hit Escape to come out of there. Okay, so that's good. That gives us our basic footage, and as it was with the PT GUI one, we select it all, come to Effects, drop in a VR stitch. So following on very similarly, in fact, to the PT GUI one, just take the stereo mode off so we can see it in mono. We're going to need to add in our cameras, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, till we see 6 in the center view. That gives us all of those. We're going to assume that we don't know anything about the focal length, field of view, or any of that stuff. What we do know is how many cameras we have and that it's a 360 shot. So that's 6 cameras in 360. So 360 divided by 6 is 60 degrees of arc between each of the cameras. And the cameras are currently lying on their sides, so they need to be rotated upright. So that's going to be minus 90 on the roll and 60 degrees of arc on the yaw. So let's come to camera 1 and set that up. Minus 90 on the roll. Yaw for camera 1 is going to be 0 because it's our front and center. Come to number 2, minus 90. Let's put that in, minus 90. 60 on the yaw, and we want to increment each camera by 60 degrees. So 120 for this one, minus 90, when we get to 180, I'm going clockwise because that will keep my main camera front and center and everything else will line up off of it. Minus 90, and the last one then being 300. Okay, so that gets our cameras basically lined up. The next thing that we're going to want to do then is figure out how we can close up these gaps and create a bit of a better overlap. We've got a very slight overlap. We can see with the overlay here of the blue one. So we're on camera 1, we go to camera 2. You can see that there is an overlap between the red line of the stitch feather and the blue line of the camera overlay. We'll want to, in fact, before we do this, is to set up our camera defaults for the circle mask. Now, we need to determine what the circle mask is before we can punch any numbers into here. We may also find that we want to do this individually, depending on the rig. So let me show you what I mean. We select camera 1. Select circle mask here, do show one input, and I'm just gonna hold down Alt and pull that down. Actually, I don't need to hold down Alt. Let's pull that down like this, and maybe a little bit more. And I'm just gonna push this one into place. Now, I'm just trying to line it up more or less in the center, but you'll see that that gives me an offset on the X and Y. Now, I can't be certain that this is going to apply to all other lenses, so I'm just going to actually round that up to make life a little easier for myself. We're calling that 78, and I'm not going to worry about these X and Y offsets because they're going to be potentially different for each camera. So let's just set the circle mask. Let's select the camera so we can see it. There we go, 78 on the circle mask. That looks okay. And select this camera. In fact, you know what? Let's just go to the camera defaults. Let's put 78 into there, and we'll step through each of the cameras in turn and just then tweak as we need to. That one's just a little bit off Just want to pull that one a bit more up that way, bit more up that way. Yeah, just till I'm happy with the offsets on each of these. That looks okay. Cool. So that's our circle mask completed. And we can put away the show one input, and we've now got all of our cameras set up here. So the next thing is to try and push them together by adjusting the focal length. A good way to do this is to go to VR mode, push this till you see the zenith, and then just hold down Alt and pull that out until you can close off that black hole. And there she goes. Right, so we'll come out of VR mode. This has got us a lot closer. We might need to come a bit closer yet. You know, I can see we've got a few little problems here and there, but at this point, you know, this is a good point to save this out as a basic preset so that you could reuse this on this camera rig, because from this point onwards, we're going to be tweaking it. And, you know, if you're creating a preset from scratch, you really want to shoot out in an open field or somewhere with a large amount of space with nothing crossing in front of any of the lines so that you can get the best, the least amount of convergence or parallax shift will give you the best results for creating a basic camera preset that can be used across the board. So from here, to do that then, what we'll do is come back to this side, select our VR stitch node, and what I want to do is, so I'll double click this. Now, if this doesn't, what I'm looking for is the record monitor down here. If this doesn't show up, chances are on this side, live may be turned on. Now, live is coming on by default for me because I've got a Kona 4 plugged into my system, so I usually output to an external monitor. So, yeah, for color correction and stuff like that. So I'll turn this off, come back over to this side, and hopefully now, no, come to edit. We can now see in the source monitor. So we double click this. In the source monitor, what I want to do is from here, right click on here and go to copy. You see how this is now thrown up a black box in here. This means it's recorded all of the settings for this group. All I then need to do is to bring up the media folder, go to export, source monitor, save, which will then throw up a output. So we'll call this new cam preset start, and we'll just OK that. That will end up, if we come back over to this side, if I go down to my output directory, there it is there, new cam preset start group. So I could then, if I wanted, drop that into my camera presets folder, and I could reuse that over and over for this particular rig. Great. What we want to do now, having created our preset, is to tweak it as we might any other preset. So let's put the media folder away, and we'll come back over to our shot, and we'll have a look at what we can do to improve this. Now, there's a number of things that we might want to do from this point forward. We might want to select individual cameras and start shuffling them around. I'm having a look, you know, at where the issues are. So I'm thinking that camera 2 is a constant problem for me, and it's too high here and too low there. So it looks like it needs to, we'll go to align mode. I'm just going to pull that one down a bit on this side and maybe push it up a bit on that side. That's not, that little blip there and that there look like they may be the same. I'm going to try, see if I can, yeah, no, that's not really giving me what I want, is it? I can see here, yeah, this car looks like that part and that part looks like it's the same. Let's just see. So yeah, if I bring that over, That is the same, but obviously that's going to throw that other part out completely. So let's see what we get. Okay, that's not too bad. Well, I'm going to bring that back to the middle and see if I can't. No, that's not going to work. That is not going to work. So, I tell you what, let's try with something like this. The chances are, what I want to do actually is come back to, what are we on, camera 2? Let's open up camera 2. We know that we've just been fiddling with offsets and whatnot there. So I'm going to reset that one. In fact, let's just reset all of those back. Now, this will go back to its... in fact, if I just reset everything, reset the roll to -90 and the yaw to 660, that puts us back where we were. Right. So now it will just pick up the camera defaults from here with the circle mask and the focal length. I'm thinking the focal length is still off a bit, so I'm going to hold down Alt and see if we can't just close this up a little bit more. And then go from there. Now, we do want a bit of an overlap, don't we? So we've got 10.9 on there. Now, at this point, as I say, you can go through shuffling each of these, but the chances are once you hit these buttons here, it's going to do its own thing anyway. So if I go to camera 5, for instance, and I push that one up, come to camera 4, pull this one down. Right, you know, that looks okay there. Actually, that does look okay there. So, with that said, let's go to camera 3. Pull this one down a touch. Okay. Okay. That's actually not bad, is it? So we've not hit the improve alignment offsets at all. You know what? Let's come to our, put those ones away. Let's come to our options, put on a bit of a stitch feather and do our optical flow and see where we're at. It's looking okay. Let's turn off these overlays so we can have a look. Let's go into the VR mode. Just going to come out a bit. House is looking good. So with that on there, let's just scrub through. That doesn't look too bad at all, actually. That doesn't look too bad at all. So let's pull that one out and take a look in stereo and see how that looks. So the first thing we're going to need to do then is set up our cam spacing. And we can see that we've got some big problems here, don't we? That mountain in the background is way too much, and there's way too much going on here. So let's put our overlays on and see where we're at. Okay, so camera 5, that just looks really far too much, doesn't it? Okay, I think that might in fact be camera 6. So when you're moving cameras manually like this, you actually need to watch both sides. Watch this side out here and this side out here at the same time. Now, I'll tell you what, maybe I'm just going to undo that, come back to my options and check the convergence. So I'm going to, actually we could hold down Shift and just do this here, couldn't we? So we could go through, that's really not helping there at all though, is it? That's really not helping. So let's see if we can tighten these up a little bit. Okay, so I'm looking at this tree in the background. We'll come to this one, pull that one in a little bit better. Next one. Oh, it's not so good. So obviously what I'm looking for is some convergence on the foreground, but I need to minimize that on the background. In fact, I'm going to take off the optical flow because that's not helping at the moment. It's just slowing everything down. I think as well then we've got a bit of a problem with the pitch balance. Let's see if we can do anything with that. That's helping a bit. And we'll try the vertical balance. So at this point, you see, we've got our basic camera preset done, and it's now really, this is sort of like part of the standard process of just going through and balancing out your shot. Camera 5 appears to be a bit of a problem. We'll push that one in. Camera 6. I think I'm just going to have to go through each of these kind of in turn and just keep shuffling them along until I get a bit closer. I'm looking at the top of this, but obviously this building here, this is further away, so it should, in fact, have less of a parallax shift on it because it's further away than this one. So let's go to camera 6 again. That one, I reckon, actually has to come this way a bit. Yeah, we got some problems, don't we? The horizontal shift is fine, but what we definitely don't want is any kind of vertical shift. That we definitely do not want. So pull, it's hanging out the edge there. Well, that's going to be, as is often the case with these things, a bit of a long, drawn out process that I don't think you really want to be sitting through. I'll see if I can just spend a minute or two and try and get it a little bit better, just so that you've got a bit of a clue. Obviously that one's well out. You know what? Let's see, having made a complete mess of this, if we can get the inbuilt tools to rescue us. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to reset the convergence, the vertical balance, and the pitch balance by selecting each one in turn and just hitting delete and hold down shift, and let's just try resetting that convergence a bit there. All right. Come on, Mystica, do it for me. Well, that's just thrown that right out. Try the alignment. Well, that's a bit better. That is a bit better. I mean, we've got this problem here, just as we did last time. If we go into the stereo mode, and what have we got here? Ooh. I bend that into place. Let's come off align mode, select 5, and go back to it again. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, this is a bit of a trial and error when you're starting with something where you've not really got any clue as to what the camera setup is. One thing that I will show you though before we close this one out, you may have come across as you're working your way through these things, the understorts. Do these understorts make much of a difference? Because I haven't set these. I've left these all at 0. So before we close this out, let's have a look. I'm going to take my original, in fact, let's just do it from scratch. Yeah, let's just take this. I'm going to take this footage, clone it to here, and I'm going to clone it twice. And what I'm going to do is get my camera preset for this, and I'm going to drop that on. And what I'm going to do is edit, get duration, set duration, and then just Alt drag that over. Right, so we've got 2 identical stacks, yeah? Same footage, same settings, same camera settings. What I'm going to do on the first one, if we come to this, I'll come to... By the way, if you're wondering why the screen is flashing from side to side, I used to do this in the edit, and it was a real pain. So I've now set up an auto script in OBS to just do it for me. So what happens is sometimes when I'm using a spinner down here, the mouse will go off the side of the screen here and it will auto flip to the other screen. So that's why sometimes you'll see it just flipping backwards and forwards. So anyway, on here then, camera defaults, we can see that here. And I'm going to set this to frame 0, and holding down control and using the right mouse button, I'm going to jump to the other shot, open up the same. Let's come out of stereo mode. So these 2 shots then, camera defaults, should be identical. Okay, so if we jump between them, they are absolutely identical. Good. So on this one, what I'm going to do is reset these understorts. So you're going to see, if you watch this, you're going to see some things happen. They're going to be subtle because the numbers are very small. So now let's jump between the 2, and we can see that there is a difference, but it's really not huge, is it? That one to this one. So that's the default camera preset as it comes. That's just with the understorts set to 0. So it is kind of nominal. But what I'm going to do now is for each of them, I'm just going to hit improve alignment offsets once. So this is the original one with the understorts. Hit that once. Jump to the other one and hit that once. And there's less of a difference. Yeah, there's very much less of a difference. So we could come back and let's do this one more time. And I'm going to do it twice, in fact, followed by improve alignments. We can see that it's still not quite right, but I'm going to jump to there, do this one twice as well, and hit approve alignments, and now jump between the 2. And as you can see, there is less and less difference between them. So what's happening is that the algorithm under these auto buttons are correcting everything anyway. So whether you need the understort values in here, it's hard to say. I will sometimes play with these, and you can. I mean, they're not hard and fast. You know, they're not set in stone by any stretch of the imagination. And we can see this for sure if we step back through these. So that's the one that's got undersort set to 0. That's the original. That's our trying around manual one. This is the PT GUI one. Let's put this one back to the same place as well. And you look here, the numbers are completely different. And what's more, you know, you could drop the same footage into PT GUI, do the stitch several times, and every time these numbers will come out different. So they're really not set in stone at all. Now, what I have found that you can do is just 0.05 of a change, 0.05 in there, and we'll just jump back to the other one. That's worse. That's better. But having done that, so I've put 0.05 in the center one, and if I hit align, improve alignment offsets again, you can see that it's trying to just fix that change that I've made. So I can just step my way through that, and the more I do it. So now look, it's lined them back up to here. When I come back to this previous one, if I do the same thing, just improve these alignment offsets a few times, jump between them, you see what I mean? So play around with these and see whether it makes a difference for you or not. It may not. Anyway, there we go. That's pretty much it for today. So you've got some idea now of how to go about creating a camera preset from scratch in Mastika Boutique and then play around with the settings to your heart's content till you can hopefully get a stitch that's acceptable to you and your client. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now.